welcome to my channel, to my content. Appreciate you and happy to have you here. So, let me explain really quick what it is that we're going to do today. Google has released a really interesting research paper on how they were able to clone the personalities of 1,052 people. And it's this right here. It's 65 pages long. And it's really interesting, and it has a lot of really interesting applications. But it's a little long, it's a little complicated, it's a little technical. And so I spent some time to sit down and actually figure out like the whole thing step by step, understand all the individual steps and processes and everything that go into this. And basically just tried to make it as simple and easy to follow and replicate as possible. Now, I have actually done this already. Let me close this real quick. This is my AI clone. He's kind of a jerk. He's kind of mean to me. But it's actually been a really useful and helpful thing. So, what I did is I went, like I said, I mapped out the entire process, put together a whole bunch of examples. I put together all of the prompts that you're probably going to need for this. I also went and I built a couple of custom GPTs that can help you through two of the more complicated parts, which we'll also talk about here in just a minute. And that's all that. So, real quick, when you first get in here, you will notice that there is a Donate Tacos to Triston button. That'll take you to PayPal, and then this is a place where you can send some cash should you find this thing to be useful and valuable and you want to, give me some money to buy tacos or something. Especially comparing this version to this version, and like it's all the extra little custom GPTs and stuff that we put together. So if it helps, and if you got the funds for it, that's how we can do that. And I am obligated to mention all this because otherwise my VAs will slaughter me, and it will not be as much fun as it sounds. So let's switch over here real quick. So we will start here. How does this work? So Google DeepMind Stanford University created this process with the goal of determining how a person or group of people would act in different situations. It's actually a really interesting way they put this together. So they actually went and they let people create a digital avatar of themselves. They put them in a whole bunch of different situations, and they're trying to test societal changes and things like that. And there's some other interesting applications for it as well. And of course, I doubt most of us are going to be doing that type of work. We're probably going to be more interested in doing things like marketing and building businesses and those kinds of things. Understanding more about our customers and all that. Excuse me. So that's kind of what we're going to be focusing on during this particular call. But it's really interesting. I was actually very surprised by how accurate this thing actually was. And one of the other really interesting applications for this that I have found personally is that it is a I'll make sure my audio is turned off over here, make sure you guys can't hear any things. Okay. One of the things I found that was really interesting about this is that I found that a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of self-employed folks deal with, these mental blocks, these mindset things that need to get switched out, and, just kind of that deeper insight. I find that a lot of times we need that deeper insight into ourselves. Excuse me, I'm dying over here. Because, we struggle with, over delivering. We struggle with perfectionism. We struggle with stress and anxiety and all these other things. And I found that to be very much, in my case, something that I have to deal with. And creating this AI, so something that has a very deep and intimate knowledge about me and my life and all that kind of stuff, it's become very helpful to be able to, what's the word I'm looking for here? To interact with this AI, to ask it questions, have it give me feedback based off of the stuff that I'm actually living and dealing with. And so that's really the reason I wanted to show you guys how to do this, because for using this thing for avatars for your business stuff, there's some value in that. There's definitely some use cases for it, but it's really this digital mirror version that I think is the most valuable. So that being said, we have some important questions to ask and answer real quick. So why do we do this? Because we can. Go ahead and read through all this. Has something cool to talk about at parties. Plug it into automations and agentic stuff, because that's how Palpatine somehow returned in the Star Wars Legends. And again, once you do understand this process, you can use it to create an ideal client avatar for your business. And again, plugging that into your agentic frameworks, plugging that into your feedback loops and everything like that. Some things get really cool. I can show you some examples of that should people be interested. Are you going to have to fight your clone? Not today, but maybe next week. Who knows? What should you do if your spouse likes is supposed to update that one later? And then something you're actually going to need for this. So you're going to need a paid ChatGPT or Claude account. If you are using something beyond those two, then really all you need is something that you can customize in some way, and then also provide reference documents too. So if you are using something besides ChatGPT or Claude, you probably already know how to do that kind of stuff, so I'm not going to worry about you too much, but that's kind of that process. The process takes about 3 hours. We are not going to sit here and go through the entire thing in 3 hours. And I'd also recommend that you have my guide. If nothing else, it's because this thing has links to all the other reference documents you're going to need. Now, again, if you don't want to use like the custom GPTs I've built or anything like that, then this is going to link back to all the original source documents. So again, this is the link back to the actual research paper. How do we see this thing again? Right here. Maybe not. Oh no, that's how to cite it. Where's the thing? View PDF. It's like, here's the entire guide if you want to sit down and read through all this. Or you can just click that and I'll take you to it. And then here are like the different interview questions that the AI is going to ask you. And these are links to the different societal games and hypothetical situations that it's going to ask you to go through and all that kind of fun stuff. Then after that, it's just a question of combining everything into whatever platform you like the most. So again, I'm using Claude for this. You could use custom GPTs. I haven't had a chance to play around with the projects in ChatGPT yet, so that might be something worth looking into as well. But that's, again, you can use whatever you want as long as you have these abilities to train the AI. Now, in the white paper here, in the research paper, they actually do fine-tune the model afterwards. I haven't done that yet just because I haven't really seen a need to. It's doing pretty well with the information I have in it so far, and so I haven't worried too much about fine-tuning the model or to make it any better. So that's that part. But that being said, now we kind of have all of the main parts and pieces to this thing covered. I'm going to go ahead and dive into the guide part. Now, if you do have any questions about this, then you can post them in the chat. I have that open on my other monitor, and we'll answer those at the end. Or if you're watching this in the future, then you can, again, hop into the Facebook group and then post those questions over there, and we'll move through it. So, that being said, let's get to the fun part. So, the first thing that we need to do, or the first step in this process, is actually an interview. It is a 2-hour-long interview with an AI, and it is you really need to give it a lot of information in order for this part to work as well as it could or should. And it goes into a lot of stuff, right? So again, I have the actual questions right over here if you wanted to go through all these. What I ended up doing was, when I was first building this thing, right, is I actually took this paper, this research paper, and I dropped it over here into Claude. I said, hey, Claude, I want to try this. I want to build this thing. So I actually want you to interview me as if you were the AI that was behind this original project, and I want you to go through, ask these questions, follow the instructions that they have in there, and then let's do it. Let's create let's do this interview. And so that's what I ended up doing. But I did see that it had some trouble, like kind of choosing different topics. We ended up talking a lot about AI. We ended up talking a lot about my work. We ended up talking a lot about my health issues, those kinds of things. And so it could have grabbed some other bits and parts of information that would have been useful. But again, it kind of got on that track and didn't want to leave that track. And so I've actually been going through and like adding in additional bits of information to the AI as kind of like, in addition to the interview itself. Now, the interview alone is actually really, really useful. I'll actually just pull this up right here. So what I did with my interviews, I just went through, had the whole chats with the AI, told it my life story, and all that kind of thing. And then it started asking some follow-up questions. So here's all of that. And then, again, that's basically what this was. So then what I did is I went through and I grabbed the whole thing, copied and pasted it into a text file. and then I dropped it into Claude. Now again, if you are using ChatGPT, you do the exact same process, but you're going to do it with a custom GPT, right? So let's talk about doing that interview first. Come back over here. Step 1, the interview. I went and I created a custom GPT that has all of the questions built into it. So you don't have to really do anything else beyond clicking that link coming over here and then clicking begin interview. So we'll go through a couple of these. And I told it to only ask these questions one at a time, but that's fine. So this thing's supposed to go through, it's supposed to go ask you all the questions that are on that list. These are questions that we took from the actual interviews that were used in the research paper, and then we actually added a couple more. And I'm planning to add a few more on top of it. So just other things that I've noticed that the AI has benefited from knowing, just in my uses with it, or my interactions with it and everything. So, so we're gonna be adding more to that. So let's see, demographics, current age. I'm 37. This is gonna take too long if I sit down and try and answer the whole thing. But yeah, so to go through this, like I said, it's about a 2-hour long process. It's trying to get between 6,000 and 7,000 words out of you. It's trying to get your life story. It's trying to see how you think and interact with, or think about society, how you interact with society, how you feel about different things, important relationships, milestones in your life, all that kind of stuff. So that is everything that's supposed to go in here. And again, it's supposed to ask these questions one at a time. I will try adjusting that here in just a second. But that's step 1. And again, once it's all the way finished, it should, at the end, give you an option to take the entire transcript or the entire conversation, turn it into a text file, and then download it. Or, again, copy, paste it. So relatively simple and straightforward there. The next thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to do the Big 5 personality test. Now, the Big 5 personality test will take you to this right here. This is a free version of it where you don't have to really worry about it, no registration or anything else. Click where it says take the free test, and then it's going to basically have you fill out the test, right? So again, pretty straightforward. And the way that this works is it's going to ask you how well each of these little sentences here describe you. So do you worry about things that very accurate, very inaccurate, or very accurate? You guys know how these things work. And then as soon as it's done, it's going to give you your results. The results are going to look something like this. There's quite a bit of information in here, actually. And again, useful information to have. But just going to take all this again, copy and paste that into a text file, and then we're going to use that to then later upload into our AI. So that's step number 2. And this one only takes about 10-15 minutes to finish. The interview, again, this is the part that takes a long time. This is the hard part, right? So once we have that, then we're going to get into the games. So again, we have a custom GPT build that's going to actually take you through through these different scenarios. But these are things like, trying to see how you think about people, how you think about problems, how you kind of logic your way through some different things, and just like your thought process, and then a whole bunch of really interesting little bits and pieces. Again, just click Let's Begin, and it's going to give you the that's different. You're getting feedback on a new version of ChatGPT. That's new. I've never seen that before. So let's see here. In this game, you and your partner have been arrested or are being interrogated in separate rooms. You both have 2 choices. Cooperate, remain silent, and not betray your partner, or defect, betray your partner, and testify against them. And then your outcomes and everything else. So I think maybe this one's the better response. Okay. And then again, we're going to answer the questions, kind of move through these. There are 5 of these different things that are going to happen. So in my case, I have, I've already answered these, right? And I'm a little hesitant. I don't want to give you guys my answer because I don't want it to corrupt the way that you guys think about these things. But in my case, what I ended up answering here was I told it that I would not defect. I would cooperate because I was worried that whoever I was working for afterwards, because the only reason that I would be in a position where I could go to jail is because I'm being forced to do it by somebody else or for whatever reason. And if they have enough, if there's enough going on that I would be scared enough that I actually do the thing, then I'd be concerned about what would happen if what would happen afterwards, basically. So that's that. We're just going to go ahead and answer, and they'll say, I'll cooperate. So why did you decide? So like I said, you're going to go through this whole thing, and it's going to ask you to follow up on the questions. It's going to ask you to explain your reasoning and your thought process and everything. And then again, at the end, it should give you the option to download the entire thing, or again, copy, paste, and then drop this into ChatGPT or Claude or whatever you want as a text file. So that's step 3. And then step 4, so if you're going through this and the other things that you're going to be looking at, they're also going to be looking at your demographic information, which does have a little bit of an impact, but that should actually be pulled out during the interview process, because I actually have that built into the questions that are being asked. So you shouldn't have to worry about that. All you should need is just the transcript from your interview, your personality test results, and then also the results from all 5 of these games. Now, the 4th game is actually the same game, but it's played from 2 different perspectives. One's from perspective 1, or from player 1, and then from player 2. And so you're going to take all of these, and then basically this is where you're going to combine this into a single AI somewhere. So again, use a custom GPT. You guys know how to do that. Pretty straightforward. If you're doing this in Claude, I just created a project, and then I've been uploading these files as individual texts to the project. So again, this is my interview. These are my big 5 test results. Here's my prisoner's dilemma. This is the one we're just looking at, right? And then here is my answer. And then it gave me a little bit of an analysis as far as what it thought about the answer that I provided. So that's the one we're just looking at: the dictator's game, the trust game, and then trust game from player 2, and then the public goods test, which is that one right here. Now, I have added a couple additional bits of information to this over as I've been working on it. So this is an analysis of my decision-making process. So again, I kind of took all of these and I dropped them into a single chat and said, hey, can you analyze this for me? Give me some information, give me some insights on how this works. I gave it some information about my work and the kind of work that I do. And then I gave it some information about the kind of, what I know about AI stuff. And then I have been slowly giving it some additional information about other stuff. So personal life, those kinds of things, important relationships. So this section here is about my 2 brothers, or 2 of my brothers. So stuff like that. And you can always add more documents to that. And this is one of the reasons that I prefer doing this as a Claude project, because I don't have to worry so much about any sort of limit to the number of documents I can upload. It's more based off of how long those documents are. So I still want to go through and add in information about my other siblings. I want to add information about my spouse, my wife, and her family. I want to add in information about my projects, all that kind of stuff, because then that's just going to make this AI a little bit better and smarter and have more context. So once you have decided on the platform that you want to upload all these things to, and you've started doing that, it's usually a good idea to kind of test the AI and make sure that the responses that it's giving are accurate, right? And so I stole these from a gentleman named Ryan Nidell. Actually, these ones down here too, that talk a lot about, these are questions that you would use during a sales call. But what we do is we actually use them to test and judge the responses that the AI provides in order to see how well it actually coincides with the way that we'd want or expect the AI to answer. So we can basically just take these, and again, go back to our project, go back to our AI, go back to whatever it is that we're working with, and basically just going to ask these questions. So let's say, what's causing problems in these slides? Let's do one of these real quick. Tell me about Triston. And I'll say here, in his life. Now, I do have one extra thing going on here, which we'll talk about here in just a second. But that's about it. So, kind of cool. Now, there is one little variation to this. It's actually something that I highly recommend that you guys do. And that is to instruct your AIs to be brutally honest. So the reason for this is that, typically speaking, an AI does not like to be negative or to provide negative feedback. It will be at worst neutral, right? You guys have probably seen this. I saw Sam Altman, so the CEO of OpenAI, he had posted a summary of a wish list of things that all the AI people were asking him for. And one of the things on the list that made me laugh is something called grown-up mode, which I would assume makes it so that way the AI isn't so soft and fluffy. So to do this, I actually added these just recently. If you're using Claude, then you can add in your set instructions up here, your project instructions, or you can create a response type or style. Okay, so this is also something relatively new that just popped up. Go over here to create and edit styles. You can create a new style, and then this is the style that I'm currently using. Options, edit manually, and there it is. So again, the reason that I like this is because it makes it so that way the AI is more honest. It makes it so it's more direct. It kind of overrides that setting where it doesn't want to tell you that you're being stupid. I have found that is very helpful when things tell you that you're being stupid, as long as they're being correct, right? It's very beneficial to know when you're doing something wrong. So these are the instructions I have over here, and then I have another version that I use a lot in my custom GPTs, which is this one right here. So I like to adjust your feedback a bit. In general, I tend to be overly positive and refrain from providing negative feedback. In this case, the client or the user desperately needs honest, brutal criticism. Please don't hold back. So again, all these are over here in the reference document, and there are links to all these in the description of this video. So by doing that, is going to cause the AI to be a lot more direct and to be a little mean sometimes. And again, it's going to try and take some of the information, some of the concepts and like the personality traits that it's finding in like the interview and in the big five and then all the other content we're providing for it. Then it does make the AI a lot smarter and makes it a lot more efficient and good in general, right? So here's that question. This is about, right? So reduced working capacity, persistent brain fog, affected mental clarity, low energy levels, memory issues, all that kind of stuff. So stuff like that. We could also come back over here and say, make a list of goals that Triston should set for himself for 2025. So, kind of the same thing over here. Now, what we'll typically do is, again, we have all these questions right here. Typically, we'll go through, we'll ask all those questions, check to make sure that the answers are accurate, and then we'll make adjustments to the content that the AI has access to based off of any adjustments that we need to make. Sometimes it helps when we see that there is an issue, we can just copy and paste the thing and say, hey, add this to the project or remember this or whatever, and then that will actually all stay as part of the, it'll update the AI's memories and everything else. So that's how that part works. I'm trying to think what else. As soon as that's all finished, once you've gone through all the questions, once you're happy with how the thing is working, then that's it. You're pretty much done. At that point, it's really just a question of sitting down and playing with it and plugging it into different things and seeing some different ways that you can actually use this tool, this technology, for your benefit. If you are using this as a custom GPT, then of course you can also plug in. Why is my dog trying to climb under my chair? If you're using Harpa, then you can actually open this up as a custom GPT, which you can see right here, and then you can actually use that AI in a whole bunch of different situations and settings, because now you have that clone, and now that clone can go and do other stuff. So this is especially great if you're doing stuff like looking for like social media posts or those kinds of things, where you would want it to create content the way that you would, or if you would want it to like analyze something and like identify the stuff that's most important to you, whatever. And like this makes it really, really, really useful, and it's a very valuable tool. The other fun stuff that you can do with this is if you are looking at any sort of agentic type projects, right? So let's move this thing over, you can get a nice blank screen. So, for example, I have one like little AI agent team, right? And there's actually 3 AIs that I have working together. So what'll happen is, and this is designed for YouTube, believe it or not, even though I didn't use it for this video, and I probably should have. What it does is it writes really good YouTube video titles. So it's really catchy, really, relevant to the user. So the way that this works is that you, as the user, you provide a whole bunch of inputs. Okay, what's the video about? What's the, who's the target audience? What's the call to action? All that kind of stuff. So all those little things. And then that information is sent to these two AIs. So the first AI, its job is to write drafts for those titles. And then this one is actually a representative of the viewer avatar. Now, the way that I have mine set up, because I knew that a lot of people would be using it for a whole bunch of different things, but if it was for one specific channel, for one specific audience, you can actually take this clone and you can put that in here instead. So instead of trying to create a new avatar based off of the inputs, you just have like one set avatar, right? And then what happens is this one will go through and it will create five drafts of the title, okay? And then it sends it to the avatar AI, and then the avatar AI says, these suck, here's your scores, here's your feedback, and based off of the scores, right? So if the score is above a 98, then it moves on to the next AI. If it's below that, then that information is sent back to the draft AI along with the feedback, and then the draft AI will go through that process again, create 5 new drafts, send it back to the avatar, and they just kind of go through this loop. And what's kind of cool about this as well is that there's actually a step here in the middle, which is just a notepad. And so as every time this thing runs, then the feedback that's being sent from this avatar is actually being updated over here in the notepad. So that way the AI actually gets smarter as it runs. So whenever it's going through the drafts, it's also looking at the notepad, looking at the information from all the past instances, all the past runs, in order to make a better draft title, which is really cool. And it's actually improved pretty significantly as I started using this. So originally, the scores averaged about 68. And this isn't just a scoring system that we made up, right? We actually went through, we analyzed 1,000 titles and everything. It was a lot of work that went into that. But the average score at first was a 68. A small YouTuber usually gets around a 70. So they have titles, but they're not awesome. So this is usually somebody under 10,000 subscribers. Usually between 10,000 and 100,000. They would typically score in an 80. And then the 100,000 plus would usually score 85 to 90. Okay. So now you might notice this thing's asking for a 98 now, right? So typically a channel with over 2 million, 3 million subscribers is usually going to score a 95. So what I did is I let this thing just sit and run for 5 hours, right? Just processing over and over and over and over again. And again, it's taking all its notes, it's taking all that information. And now the average score that this thing pops out is actually a 102. The scale goes up to 115. It's it actually does really, really well. It performs better than most humans. And if nothing else, it gives you some really good starting points. But yeah, so once this thing hits at least a score of 98, it actually goes to the third AI. And what this one does is just creates a ton of variations. So that way, you have a lot of options for actually what title you decide to use. But this is a really interesting application for this type of avatar, because if you have that avatar there in the middle, and again, if it's a set avatar like this, then I can tell this thing, hey, I'm going to make a video about, cloning yourself with AI. Here are some draft titles that I think would be pretty good. What do you think of these draft titles? And I can provide all that feedback for you. So again, one of the other cool things that you can use these things for. So again, you can use the same kind of system. I'm using it for YouTube titles, but you can use this for your social media posts. You can use this for social media groups, like a Facebook group. If you wanted to see what kind of content would perform well within that group, then you can go through and create these types of avatars for people in your group. Have them sit down, go through the interviews, have them go through all the tests and everything. You don't have to find some way to convince them to give you 3 hours of their time, but if you can get them to do that, or if you can find somebody who's already collected that information, and then somebody else has a similar type of group, then you can get that information from them, however, and then use that to again analyze the type of content that's performing when the group creates this avatars, and then use that to optimize your future content. Same thing for videos, same thing for LinkedIn, same thing for your ads, same thing for your landing pages, same thing for your website, same thing for everything. If you wanted to test and see how a different change in the culture of your business, so maybe you got some employees who are looking at some stuff, this is a good way to do that. You can kind of test that system beforehand and see how they're going to respond, see what they like, see what they don't like. And then that way you are experimenting on robots instead of experimenting on people. So again, that's another really useful thing. Going back to this, talking about using this thing for your individual self, for your mindset, and for that kind of stuff. This thing has actually been extremely useful for me. And that's not something I try not to be like too hyperbolic when it comes to this stuff. Like there's stuff that's useful, there's stuff that's not useful, and there's stuff that's somewhere in between. And this has been exceptionally useful for me. I'll come back over here real quick. So let's see here. Let's give you a good thing that we can look at. We'll look at this one. I made digital income streams. So I said, hey, I want to make $1 million this year. I want to have a push print money button, right? Something where I can just build it and then let it run and then see how well it actually works and see how much money I can actually make off of it. He goes, all right, cool. Based off of what I know about you, based about what we could do, here's some options for you. And then it took me through step by step and kind of helped me build this entire thing. If we were to look at some of the other stuff, right? So like, let's do this. We'll do this live. This is going to be fun. I really don't like pricing my services. I always feel like I'm charging too much money, and I worry that it's not running enough value. This is actually a real issue that I deal with like every freaking day. It drives my wife insane too. Please fix me. And there it goes. So it's not actually about pricing, it's about how you process value and self-worth. Let's break this down. So there's the whole thing. So this is the actual problem that you're dealing with. This is how those problems work. And here's what you need to do to fix it. So it's helpful. It's, like I said, one of the most interesting and, again, valuable, personally valuable things that I have had the opportunity to mess around with in the world of AI. I am actually really, really impressed by how well this thing actually works and by how well it learns and adapts. And even when it calls me out, when it says, look, you're trying to do this thing, but the truth is that you're actually, avoiding this other thing. And sometimes it can be kind of mean about it. So I did put in the title of this video, I clone myself with an AI, and he's kind of a jerk. So I was trying to put together a personal creed the other day because I thought, hey, I wanted to build a personal creed, right? My own set of values and rules and everything. And he goes, actually, no, you're just being stupid. This isn't actually what you're trying to look for. You need to do this other thing. And it ended up going off into this whole other system. And then that actually led to a lot of, difficult conversations that I had to have with myself, but it led to some growth. And again, I thought it was really neat. So again, I really like using Claude for this. I think Claude just does a really, really good job. I'm sure that ChatGPT could do just as good of a job, but I just think Claude is a little bit smarter. I think it does a better job of communication, probably the best way to put it. It expresses itself more clearly, and I think it does a better job of just explaining what it thinks and why it thinks and processing and all that. So honestly, I think Claude's just better than ChatGPT in almost every way, but there's still a couple, it's a topic for another day. But yeah, like I said, this has been a really, really useful thing for me, and that's why I wanted to share it. So that being said, I'll give you guys just a second to see if there are any questions that pop up in chat. Otherwise, I'm going to call it a night and play some Minecraft that I've been sitting here and running on my computer since like noon, and I forgot about it. My poor computer's been complaining about it all day. So we're waiting for that. Again, the entire process is laid out over here, step by step, all the links, all the resources, then also the sources for that information, should you want to go and use that as well. So I guess I'll just sit right here, go and use that. And then again, I've got these custom GPTs that are built up. So you can use these if you want. It should make the process a little bit faster and easier. But if not, then again, we've got all the, everything else over here. And if you don't even want to use these, then it will tell you here are the questions this are where these questions are coming from. So over here, it's talking about GSS-based questions. That's from the General Social Survey. All that goes in. And the other one, I forget what it's called, something voices, is where a lot of the other questions came from. But they didn't actually share what the questions were. They just kind of gave topics of what they were about. So I wasn't able to just go and grab all those questions and drop them in. We had to kind of guess with that a little bit. Again, all the other stuff, here's your links to the different types of games. And again, you can take all this, copy and paste this into ChatGPT if you wanted to do this completely by yourself. So that's all of that. But yeah, so that's how that works. And these are just some of those use cases we just talked about a little bit. So talking about your AI agents and all that kind of fun stuff. And then also those prompts down here at the very bottom. So I don't see any other questions or anything like that. So again, if you guys do have any questions that pop up in the future, and should you want to shoot those over to me, then this is the Facebook group that you're looking for. It's the ChatGPT Cult. There's also a link to that in the description of this video as well. And this is where I post a lot of stuff about AI all the time, because people kept complaining about me sharing it to my normal wall, and I need a place to dump information and stuff. These are with Sora, which is kind of fun. So that's my AI assistant. So I got to build her next. That's my next big project, is turning this into the full thing. But yeah, so I think that'll do it for me. I hope this has been helpful and useful, and see you on the next one.